here we are once again on a fine Sunday afternoon. Going to do a little college football with yours truly, the outlaw of college football. And as you can see right down here, I can also be reached on X, aka Twitter, at OCF Productions. If y'all ever got any ideas on the show, or maybe even want to be a guest on the show in the future. We're also I'm gonna do a little something different today. I'm gonna go ahead and probably give some Four Horsemen shout outs, as well as recognize a few people that donated to the last few programs. Let's see who we got up in here already. We got Garrett Bullwares in the house. Thunder OU Center, once again, one of the more perfect attendance members of this channel. And go ahead and give those random Four Horsemen shout outs for y'all real quick while we get a few people up in here, waiting on a few more folks to come in. Today's Four Horsemen shout outs go to Tim Gillespie, Copenhagen, Billy Burks, Texas Torpedo 01, and I'd like to give a big shout out to Appalachia African Twin, who's made numerous donations to the program in the past week or two. Appreciate the hell out of those donations, brother. Also, special thanks goes out to Courtney Taylor, who's given me lots of great articles in this past week to stoke my interest. She even sent me one just here a few minutes ago that just broke, that Sharon Moore of Michigan may be implicated in some of the NCAA violations. And if that's the case, that's not good news for Sharon. Even though the NCAA doesn't have much teeth these days, I think that here recently the NCAA wants to show they do have teeth, and they may try to make Michigan an example, sort of like they did Alabama back in the day in the early 2000s, and even further back with Oklahoma in the 1990s. They just get a wild hair up their ass, and they're so inconsistent, but they try to show that they have teeth every once in a while. But I appreciate that article that you sent me, Courtney Taylor. I might bring that up later in the program. Today we're going to talk about, as you can see here, Notre Dame. There's a question out there that Notre Dame actually may want to join the Big Ten. You know, we've heard this 1,000 times, but I think it's getting really close to actually happening. But there's this thing going around that maybe they are requiring that Stanford be added with them because, you know, they have a long-standing rivalry with Stanford, and they would like to have Stanford continue to be on their schedule and not have to work around scheduling them as a non-conference opponent if Notre Dame were to join the Big Ten. What do y'all think about that? Thunder OU Center says, so if the SEC gets Stanford to join, would Notre Dame join the SEC over the Big Ten? I ain't thought about that. That's a good question. I'm not sure that the SEC would probably go for Stanford. So, in my opinion, I don't even know if Stanford thinks they're, you know, up here. So, I don't even know if Stanford would even approach that idea to join the SEC because you know how the elitists are out there. But I doubt that would happen. The only way Stanford joins any other conference besides the ACC would be the Big Ten, probably, if Notre Dame were to say that. But I've got an article I'm going to pull up here right now that basically somewhat answers that question. Let me bring it up for y'all real quick. And then later in the show, Paul Feinbaum give his predictions on what Oklahoma's schedule was going to look like this year and what he thought Oklahoma's record was going to be. And we're also probably going to go over the Alabama football schedule as well. And I'm going to get everybody's take in the comment section as to who they think or what they think Oklahoma's record is going to be and how each game is going to go, as well as Alabama's. I'll get y'all's predictions on each and every game, possibly. So here it is. Notre Dame is not asking the Big Ten to include Stanford in conference realignment. So they're debunking that, which would be a wise thing for Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame should be demanding anything. Back in the day, they could have demanded something. Their swagger and their pull ain't as good as it used to be. They still are a coveted team for any conference at this point, but they're not as coveted as they once was. I don't think they have the swagger to pull Stanford, who is just a helter-skelter type program when it comes to the major sports that really make money, like college football and men's basketball. It says Notre Dame reportedly wants in on the Big Ten, but according to longtime college football radio host Greg Swain, the Fighting Irish have no concerns about whether or not the Big Ten would add Stanford as well. Yes, Notre Dame is talking to the Big Ten about the future, but the Irish are absolutely, positively not asking the Big Ten to include Stanford, Swain wrote. As Swain previously reported, several Big Ten schools, including Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, all desperately want Notre Dame and Texas A&M in the conference. That's a little swerve. Texas A&M hates Texas so much that I think they would be willing to join the Big Ten. Man, think about that. I should have added that in the title. Texas A&M, I know a lot of people say they're doing it because they're scared of Texas. I don't think it's that. It's just the principle of the matter. I'm actually on A&M's side in this because the SEC explicitly told A&M, if you join our conference, we will not allow the Texas Long Turds to join in. Oops, sorry. That's my little nickname for them. I'm going to try to be a little more professional here. I'm sorry. But the SEC told them that they would not allow another Texas school to join the SEC. I have things to change. Not only did they allow another Texas school, they allowed the exact Texas school that Texas A&M abhors. I don't think Texas A&M has a problem with Oklahoma. It don't bother them. And it ain't because they're scared of Texas. It's because of some of the shit Texas pulled when Texas was in the Big 12 and in the Southwest Conference. Texas has been a conference killer for quite some time. So you can understand their concerns. Plus, Texas does seem like they want to be catered to somewhat. And to be honest with you, it looks like the SEC is somewhat catering to Texas out the gate. They look like they got a pretty easy SEC schedule compared to most. And then they had SEC Media Days in Dallas the first year that Texas was in. Now, you could say they were doing that for Oklahoma, too, because Dallas is pretty close to Norman. But hold up. There might be some more here. Check once again this morning to see if there's any changes in the Big Ten schools regarding their interest in adding quality football schools who aren't AAU accredited. That's another thing. That's horseshit. AAU stuff, that's just a straw grasp and a way of them trying to make themselves feel like they're bigger than everybody else and, more elite than the SEC academically and all that crap. But in the major sports, basketball, football, and stuff, the SEC pretty much owns the Big Ten, in my opinion. The answer is still the same. Sorry, FSU and Clemson's fans, but it'll be the SEC. If you have the time, call the Big Ten schools yourself or their main sports coverage reporters, and they'll tell you the same thing. I don't agree with Greg Swain on this because I absolutely think that the Big Ten would allow someone in without the AAU. I could be wrong. Nebraska no longer has AAU. When they joined, they did. But Notre Dame really is not an AAU accredited school, even though they have the accreditation, which was why it's horseshit. Notre Dame is not a research school, nowhere near it. They made research on a few things, but for the most part, this was just a label they put on Notre Dame so they could allow Notre Dame without people, basically calling them out for being hypocrites. Notre Dame's reportedly the only school the SEC and the Big Ten would consider adding at this point, is what they're saying here. So a lot of people don't really think about that. They don't really think about the fact that the SEC may go after Notre Dame just as a poke in the eye to the Big Ten. People are like, well, that's not geographically correct. Geography doesn't matter anymore. It really don't matter anymore. And yes, it's called the Southeastern Conference, but they could always reword the acronym to be the Sports Entertainment Conference or something like that. That's trivial when it comes to the big money that they could make by adding the Big Ten. Oh, John Ritchie says, "What's up, Outlaw? Come home early with the flu." Sorry to hear that, brother. Hope you get to feeling better. Y'all shoot some prayers out your way to John Ritchie and hope the man gets better, feels better. Take you some Dayquil, man. People laugh at me when I say that, but Dayquil, not NyQuil. Dayquil cures all for me. They're like, well, it'll keep me up. No, taking Dayquil does not keep you awake. It just doesn't try to put you to sleep like NyQuil does. So you can take Dayquil and go to sleep. And to me, Dayquil works a lot better than NyQuil, even though they're the same company and the same premise. And off topic there. No Skittle shitters in the SEC. Well, who would be the Skittle shitter? Oh, you're talking about Stanford. Oh, Big Coney's Kelly done labeled Stanford as a Skittle shitter. Oh, I'd be damned. Want to be on the show, Big Coney's Kelly? Who wants to be on the show? John Christophix in the house. John Christophix, would you like to be on the show to debate your point? I can send you a link, brother. Today can be open mic Sunday. He says Notre Dame will never join a conference. By the way, if you want to get your comment pushed to the top, you want me to read it out, all you got to do is click on the little money dollar sign at the bottom, let your comment out, then hit send. Don't hit send first or your comment won't come through. But it'll push you to the top, highlight it, and just a little small donation, and I'll read it out and answer your question above the others. All right. What else we got up in here? Killback First is in the house, says screw Notre Dame. Tim Gillespie's in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized as well as Big Kahoney Kelly, Killback First. All these guys have their badges. They're deputized. If you want that badge like them and you want to be deputized and be an outlaw posse, it's $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. It's just a half a bottle of water in Bidenomics. You get a random Four Horsemen shout out, as well as possibly be the comment of the day on the actual podcast. And I don't know if you missed it earlier, Tim, but you was actually a Four Horsemen shout out. I'm going to start doing Four Horsemen shout outs on the live streams as well. Rhino 26 in the house with a big fist bump. Glad to see you here, brother. And Rhino wasn't here on the last show. So Rhino's a big donor to the show as well. Denizens in the house as well. He's got his badge. He's deputized. The AAU is complete bullshit. Hallelujah. Y'all give this man an amen for his college football preaching, because the AAU tis twice bullshit unto thee. Oh yes, it's true. In the book of bullshit, AAU is at the very top, because it don't matter, man. Yeah, I know their endowments give them so much money for academics, much more than sports. Well, it sure is funny that every time they add somebody, they're not extremely high academic institutions that they could have added. For example, if the AAU thing was most important, if academics was paramount, as the Big Ten preaches, then why didn't they add Stanford and California instead of USC and UCLA? Sure, USC and UCLA might be AAU accredited, like anybody gives a shit, and the Big Ten don't give a shit either. There's a North Carolina guy that comes here all the time crying about that shit and wetting his diaper too. North Carolina, they some elitist wannabes, I think. They want to be in the Big Ten. They might end up in the Big Ten. And good for you, Tar Heels. But the AAU is absolutely a load of horse shit. I hate to be blunt, but yeah. I'll try to cut down the cussing a little bit. I will say a PG-13 cuss word every once in a while. But yeah, Stanford is going to the ACC, and Notre Dame is saying now that it's not requiring that the Big Ten add Stanford. And as Big Coney's Kelly said, that would just be one more Skittle shitter in the Big Ten. So maybe they're filled up on all their Skittle shitters, because, you know, we all give that nickname to USC, but it absolutely applies to almost any school in the state of California. Big Coney's Kelly is right in saying that. Now, let's move on to the next topic, which will be Paul Feinbaum basically had a little prediction on what Oklahoma was going to do this year. Let's see if I can bring that up for y'all real quick. There it is. ESPN analyst Paul Feinbaum predicts Oklahoma's 2024 season. It's one of the biggest stories in sports. The Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Long Turds have left the Big 12 and moved to the SEC. The move became official on July the 1st, and the regular season begins at the end of this month. Well, no shit. Depending on who you talk to, OU will either sink or swim in 2024. The doubters think that a porous offensive line will lead to the demise of quarterback Jackson Arnold, and Brent Venables' defense won't be able to hold up. Those who believe in the Sooners this year point to the best defense in Norman in nearly a decade and the talent of Arnold possesses, as well as the loaded weaponry at wide receiver. So basically they're saying that y'all's biggest point of concern this year will absolutely be the offensive line and protection of Jackson Arnold. You can have your great wide receivers, like you said here. It's loaded at wide receiver, but you can't get the ball to the wide receivers if your quarterback's down in the backfield. And even if he gets it to him, if he takes a hit, that's not called a late hit, it's taking that hit can absolutely put Jackson Arnold on the shelf, which is exactly what cannot happen this year. We got to keep Arnold healthy and upright for Oklahoma to succeed. ESPN college football analyst Paul Feinbaum is extremely complimentary of the Sooner this offseason. He took time during his show on Monday. During the show, he gave his optimism and record prediction for Oklahoma. He says he thinks Oklahoma is a 9-3 team. Feinbaum said, I've been out there a couple of times this year in April and July and had a chance to be around Coach Venables and the rest of the staff. I'm really high on what's happening out there. This isn't the first time that Feinbaum has praised Venables, and now respected SEC voice is backing up his off-season talk with a record prediction. Of course, 9-3 is not the standard in Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's difficult schedule makes it a pretty successful record. Coupled with the fact that the college football playoff is expanding from 4 to 12, the Sooners could still be on the fringe of making their 5th playoff appearance this season. So, optimism from Paul Feinbaum for a change. He was a couple of years back. He was crapping all over the Sooners and had his nose firmly up the crack of what we call in class TBOW, the bitch out west. That being Linky Boy, old Lincoln Riley, Feinbaum, and a few others. When he went out to USC, they thought he was the next coming of Nick Saban and Bud Wilkinson combined. They weren't kissing his ass on the left side or the right side. They had their nose right up the middle, right in his crack. But they've come around. At least Paul Feinbaum has. I don't think Colin Coward has yet. Needless to say, it will matter who OU loses to, if they lose, and what happens around the country. However, navigating an absolutely brutal schedule to get to 9-3 would be a strong statement from Venables in year 3. Playing in college football's toughest conference and winning some of the games the Sooners would have to win to get 9-3 would mean the playoff would be a reality if Oklahoma can get the job done. The college football playoff appearance in the SEC just 2 years after going 6-7 would let the country know that Venables is building a big winner at Oklahoma. High praise, high praise, high praise. Looks like Paul Feinbaum's becoming a believer, man. Looks like he's trying to jump in here on the Outlaw Posse. Maybe we should make him an honorary member of the posse. Maybe I should send Paul Feinbaum a badge or two. I don't know. What do y'all think? What do y'all think about Oklahoma's record? Y'all think 9-3 is about right for Oklahoma? What's y'all's prediction? 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, undefeated, 8-4, 7-5? Me, I sort of agree with Paul Feinbaum. I think 9-3 would be an absolute success, especially considering with all the new and all the transitional things that are going to be going on this year. Poor old Brett Venables has had to deal with all sorts of transition from day one at Oklahoma, and now he's got to transition into an entirely different new landscape and conference. So 9-3 would absolutely, to me, I know some Oklahoma fans don't like that idea, but if they're on the fringe of making the playoffs, once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. Just like in the NFL, a team would get in at sometimes 9-7 and win a Super Bowl. The New York Giants did it one time. 9-7 would be equivalent to probably in college, because they don't play as many games, would be equivalent to 9-3 or 8-4. Right? Garrett Bullware says rumors are Michael Hawkins Jr. is showing out. It's nice to hear we have a solid ass quarterback too. Well, that is solid to hear. That's a good thing. I'm hoping that y'all do have a solid number 2, because if the offensive line is as bad as they're saying it is, then we might need to have Michael Hawkins Jr. available and ready to come in and take over without – you're going to miss a beat regardless when you bring in a backup usually. Sometimes you don't, but usually. But not just to fall off like they did when they played Texas. I can't remember that guy's name that y'all had that started that game, but that's how forgettable the guy was. Y'all could probably throw his name down in the comment section. Garrett Bullware says 8-4 is the floor and 10-2 is the ceiling. Y'all agree with Garrett? Paul's right to be high. OU by 40, says Bagman. OU by 40 over who? Temple? Yeah, probably so. Tulane? Maybe not. Houston? Probably 42. Those first 3 games y'all got should be a cakewalk for Oklahoma. We're going to look at their schedule in just a second. Big Coney's Kelly says 8-4 or 9-3 for OU is about right. So it looks like we got a lot of people that are agreeing on that. Too many Notre Dame players get off for rape, says Halo Master 96. I ain't know nothing about that, man. You just have to throw me a link or something. By the way, if y'all ever want to contact me on Facebook, like Courtney Taylor and others do, to give me ideas for the show, my name on Facebook is Jesse Paul Clark, spelled Jesse without the I. Bagman says OU by 40 over everybody. Well, sounds like to me that Paul Feinbaum's not the one high here, Bagman. Sound like you've been dipping into the bag that you sell to whatever men that you sell it to. Maybe you've been smoking some of that red hair, some of that loud. Ben Belcher's in the house. Ben Belcher says, I'm just happy that football season is very close. Boomer. I'm going to bring y'all schedule up real quick. Actually, I might try to get y'all's prediction on Alabama first and then save Oklahoma for last. What do y'all think? And what do y'all think about the Notre Dame situation I talked about earlier? Do you think they finally will join the Big Ten? I think they probably are going to join the Big Ten. I know it's been said, but I think the time has come and Notre Dame will eventually join the Big Ten. But I don't think that they're demanding that Stanford be in with them. All right. Let's pull up something real quick for y'all. All right. There it is. There's Oklahoma's football schedule. I was going to do Alabama's first, but I'm going to go ahead and get Oklahoma out of the way since we're already talking about Oklahoma anyway. Right? All right. Y'all played Temple in the first game of the year, it says here. Then Houston, then Tulane, and then there's the big one, Tennessee at Norman. Those are the first 4 games on the schedule. All right, so Temple at Norman. So y'all got 3 home games. So actually, the first 4 games are in Norman. Y'all don't have to go anywhere on the road. So those first 4 games, I know most people would say the first 3 are definitely wins. Although you have to watch Tulane, man, because they did beat the Skittle Shitters in a bowl, and they give Oklahoma a tough time the last time they played them, right? They almost beat Oklahoma. So I don't know if Tulane's a gimme or not. If y'all lose any one of those 3 games before Tennessee, it could be a long, long, long year. So you definitely got to make sure you win those first 3 games without a shadow of doubt. That's Captain Obvious right now. But all right, at Tennessee, what do y'all think? It's going to be a hard one. Got a great quarterback in Nico. Josh Heupel's coming home. He's an Oklahoma alumnus. He may have something to prove to Oklahoma for a future reference, maybe. If Brent Venables doesn't work out, maybe Josh Heupel comes home and coaches Oklahoma. What do y'all think about that? But those first 4 games, I could see Oklahoma. That's a hard game for me, the Tennessee game. If the game was in Knoxville, I would probably go Tennessee. But because it's in Norman, and it's the first ever SEC game for Oklahoma, it's going to be wired up in Norman. There's going to be a lot of high emotions. If Tennessee can weather that first half without getting down by a couple of scores, Tennessee might be able to pull that out on the road. Be very important for them, too. Tennessee don't want to be the first person to lose to one of the new boys. But they might be, and I hope they are. I hope y'all put it to volunteers. I hope y'all put it to old Smokey's ass pretty good. But in the end, I think that because of the dramatic situation it's going to be there, it's going to be high energy for the first SEC game. I think Oklahoma might actually pull this one out. Who do you think we catch an L from? Keelback first. LSU, Keelback first, blah, blah, blah. OU by 13, says corrections 101. I don't know if it'll be that much, but I do think that Oklahoma may be able to pull this out just because of the gravity of the situation and the historical significance of this game for Oklahoma going forward. Moving on down here to the next 4 games. As y'all can see here, we have Auburn at Auburn. That's y'all's first road game. I hate y'all to go to Auburn for your first road game, man. That's it's not going to be a true indication of how the SEC people are. Just so y'all know, the barn monkeys are a special breed. We call them the barners down here because they got so many barns in Lee County where Auburn's located. So to give y'all a little education on the SEC and the nicknames and the stuff that you can say and do to get Auburn riled up, that's one of the things you can call them. You can call them the barners. I call them the barn monkeys because I want to take it a step further because there's like a bunch of monkeys hanging out in the barns down there. But, yeah, they'll play at Auburn. That's a hard game, man, for me. It's hard to win at Auburn, especially if you're a big-name school. Every time Georgia and Alabama go down there, the games are close, even if Auburn sucks sometimes. The games are close. Now, New Mexico State did go in there and spank their ass last year, but that's because they weren't really thinking about New Mexico State. That's them at Alabama, who they almost beat the next following week after getting beat by New Mexico State by 21. They push Alabama to a Hail Mary. So it's just a weird place in Auburn. So y'all could catch a loss right there. Now, Texas as well. Texas has got a lot of beef for y'all right now, of course. It's Red River Rivalry is Captain Obvious once again, but more so this year because of how y'all beat them last year. And basically, we're the only team that beat them until Washington did, which Kalen DeBoer is now our head coach at Alabama. Oh, man. It's going to be a hard game now. You know, Steve Spurrier, I almost called him Steve Spurrier. Steve Sarkisian did make a little tweet that got deleted. A lot of people think it was fake, but it wasn't. It was a tweet that he made, but they deleted it, basically saying that Oklahoma's not going to be getting lucky this year. Is what his tweet said, that they was going to make sure that, and they were just going to revert back to the 49-0 game plan, and they was going to hang 56, 8 touchdowns is what he said, on Oklahoma. And if he saw any horns down signs from anybody, he was going to maybe hang 70 on Oklahoma. But that was the alleged tweet. Then y'all play South Carolina at Norman. That should be a win. Y'all play Ole Miss in Oxford. That's a tough one, man. It's hard to win at the Grove. Going to the Grove with Ole Miss, coming off one of the better seasons in history. Lane Kiffin seems like he solidified himself there. That could be a loss for Oklahoma. I'll be honest with y'all. What do y'all think? Bagman says Josh Heupel is literally our son. OU beats Tennessee by 39 plus. So y'all gonna disrespect your son and beat him by 39 plus? Y'all gonna run the score up on one of your own, Bagman? Where's the love at for Josh Heupel, man? Y'all don't love Josh Heupel anymore? Y'all gonna run the score up on poor old Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers? Oops, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. That's it's not politically correct. Yes, I call them the Volun Skittle Shitters. I don't know. Y'all come up with a good derogatory nickname for Tennessee for me. Big Holmes Kelly might be able to do that. Fred Bagley's in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized. Howdy, boys. I'm out of data. Been watching, but this is the first comment I can make. 10-2. I've said that from the start. 25 and beyond is where the ponies will run wild. By the way, I cut my little beard here. Cut the middle out, man. Trying to run wild like Hulk Hogan tonight with the new beard and everything. But anyway. Garrett Bullware asks me, Outlaw, how crazy is Jordan Howard playing? Very crazy. There's some kind of boogaboo down there, man. Some kind of voodoo shit going on down there with the barn monkeys. When y'all go down there to play them, make sure y'all let them know that y'all have been educated upon what their true name is, that being the barners and the barn monkeys. And ask them how the tree's doing. Just ask them. Just ask them. If you know the history of their tree, you know. Think I care? Roll damn tide. To quote the great Harvey Updike, rest in peace. That damn oak tree. You know, they made a big deal out of him poisoning that tree, but the tree was already dying. It's not indigenous to the area, and Auburn and their barn monkeys were pressure washing the damn tree. So he basically done a Kevorkian on that tree, Harvey Updike did. He basically done a mercy killing. And they charge him $800,000 restitution, which is more money than they charge a damn convicted rapist. There's where your priorities lie, down there in Lee County, home of the barn monkeys. You say tough love for who? Josh Heupel? Y'all not going to beat Tennessee by no 39 points now. I know you just playing around, no bag man's trolling, but I'd be very surprised if y'all even beat Tennessee, to be quite honest with you. If y'all beat Tennessee, I will be happy. I'm not saying I want Tennessee to win. I'm just saying that it's going to be a tough game either way. They could get out of hand if Tennessee lets Oklahoma get on a roll with it being a historical game like that, and the emotions are going to be really high. If you let those emotions get going and rolling, they could be in for a long night in Norman. You're right. I just don't see 39 plus. If Oklahoma were to get up on them, I wouldn't see it by more than 17-21. All right, so in that mix, I could see Oklahoma picking up maybe a couple of losses, maybe not. They can pull one off in Auburn, get to the Texas game undefeated. That could be great for them. I mean, that would really serve notice to Texas that, hey, y'all may not be the new kid on the block that comes in and shows everybody up. It might be the Sooners. If the Sooners makes it through that game at Auburn and Tennessee, back-to-back, and they go into the Red River rivalry undefeated, I absolutely think that they could get on a serious roll and be threatening to go to the SEC title game. By the way, I think they should do away with the SEC title game. If you're going to have a 12-team playoff, they need to do away with the conference title games. It's just another game where your players can get injured. So, moving on down here. Y'all played Maine. Maine should be able to win that game, right? Y'all gonna get beat by the Black Bears. Wrong answer. Missouri. That's a team that's been talking a lot of mad smack. Surprisingly, I didn't know Missouri had such an angst and an axe to grind with Oklahoma. But Missouri seems to be a little more pissed off at Oklahoma than they are at Texas. It's sort of like they're the reverse version of Texas A&M, except they dislike Oklahoma. Missouri seems to think that they're going to show Oklahoma they're entirely different from the Missouri team they used to play in the Big 12 and the Big 8, even further back in the day. It's at Columbia. It could be a boogaboo. It could be a loss for Oklahoma if they are looking ahead to Alabama, which is 2 weeks down the road. They do get an off week. Y'all go to Columbia, and y'all do get an off week before Alabama, so that could serve y'all pretty good. And y'all play Alabama in Norman. It's going to be a hard game for Alabama. We've only played Norman once, and we lost. So we need to check that box. We need to finally win a game in Norman. So Alabama needs to go up there and at least win that game by about 14 points, in my opinion. Get y'all back for beating us when we had Franchione. LSU game is in Baton Rouge. That could be tricky. According to how good LSU is, you never know what you get with LSU from time to time here lately. 1 minute they're winning national championships with the college football version of Farmer Fran. Town won a national championship in 2020. Go Tigers! Does he not sound just like Farmer Fran? Does Ed Orgeron not sound just like Farmer Fran of the Water Boy? Just like him, man. Just like him. I think y'all can beat LSU, though. I don't think LSU is going to be quite as good as people think they're going to be this year. Much to the chagrin of Big Cojones Kelly, I do like LSU. They're one of my top 5 teams. A lot of Alabama fans hate them. I love LSU. I love going down to Louisiana and partying with the LSU people. If you get with the right people down there, you can have a hell of a good time, man. It's a great time in LSU. It's going to be a hard game. I think y'all can win it, though. I don't know if y'all can beat Alabama, or it might flip-flop. Y'all might beat Alabama, and y'all might lose to LSU. But I think y'all will lose one of those 2 games. So y'all finish the year with LSU and Alabama, and that's a hell of a slate. It sounds like they didn't do y'all any favors, unlike the Texas Long Turds. All right. Big Cojones Kelly in the house with his badge says if they manage to beat Uterus, they could lose the Ole Piss game. An Ole Piss, he's talking about Ole Miss. Ole Miss is they're an extremely weird lot of people too. Sometimes they can't make their mind up what the nickname is. They need to bring back that Colonel Rebel helmet instead of being so damn politically correct. In my opinion, that Colonel Rebel helmet was awesome, man. It was on point. It was off the chain. Garrett Bullware says, does 10-2 Ole Miss or 10-2 Mizzou team make the playoffs, considering they both lose to only 2 tough teams on their schedule? If Missouri or Ole Miss goes 10-2, because they're in the SEC, I think they probably would get in. I think just about any 10-2 team from the SEC right now might be a shoe-in for the 12-team playoff. But because they do have that one spot that they got to give to the G5 conferences, Garrett Bullware, yeah, that might nix it a little bit. So strength of schedule, I'm not sure about those 2. You say their strength of schedule, you're alluding to them not having a strong strength of schedule, so I have to look at it. I haven't looked at them in depth. Might be able to see Alabama play Oklahoma in a rematch. They might play in Norman. That might be Alabama's first loss. And then they rematch in the SEC title game. Of course, Alabama will whip your ass in the SEC title game like they always do because they beat Georgia. Every time we play Georgia in the SEC title game, we beat them. People don't realize that. Talking about Georgia's changing the guard, taking the torch because they won back-to-back titles. But one of those titles, they didn't play Alabama that season. Georgia is 1-8 against Alabama in the last 9 games. 1-8. So excuse me if I'm not sold on Georgia as the next dynasty. I'm just not buying it. See Alabama and Oklahoma in the SEC title game, man. That would be awesome. 2 Crimson Nations taking over. Taking over in Atlanta. Well, they might move the SEC title game to Dallas to placate Texas some more. Who knows? Come on, Outlaw. You know I've said that 25 will be the year for Oklahoma. I'm in my camper at the lake. I'm just now able to comment. Well, I appreciate you getting on here, brother, and commenting. Fred's going through some tough times right now. Y'all keep old boy in your prayers. He's a good old boy. He's been supporting us since day one. He's got his badge. He's deputized. I didn't say it wouldn't be y'all's year. I did. That's not what I said. I don't know. Maybe you misunderstood what I said. I just don't think it's going to be y'all's year this year, which is 24. Big Cajones Kelly said there's 4 SEC teams that are on the fringe of the playoffs this year: Oklahoma, Alabama, LSU, and Mid-Pooh. That's the new nickname for Missouri, by the way, given to them by you guys out there in Soonerland. The Sooner Mutts now call them Mid-Pooh. Oops. I don't know. Y'all want me to call y'all Sooner Mutts. But there's a story behind that. It was that dog y'all got back in the 1920s. It was a half-breed dog, and it was called a choo-choo or something. And they didn't translate what that meant. And what it meant was it meant a half-breed dog, a mutt. So that's why I come up with that Sooner Mutt shit. Just to, just to aggravate y'all a little bit. So from looking at that schedule, I'm going to say that I'm probably in agreement with Paul Feinbaum that y'all will probably go 8-4 or 9-3 this year is my prediction. And there's going to be a segment of the Sooner fan base out there that are going to be probably calling for Brent Venables' head because, y'all went, what was it, 10-3 last year? So if y'all digress to 8-4, win a bowl game and go 9-4, y'all digress just in win total and record alone, but y'all could actually be a better team. That's what y'all need to realize. Y'all probably going to be a better team this year, but y'all may not win as many games until y'all can build yourself up and get used to the transition of the SEC. I don't think it's going to take very long. A lot of the SEC old school people out there and the SEC homers think y'all going to come in and flop. I don't see it either way. I'm sort of in the middle on this. I think that Oklahoma and Texas will succeed in the SEC. My point to them is this. Everybody gives Missouri hell. Oh, Missouri shouldn't have been added. They suck. Really? Missouri's been to the SEC championship game twice. The one team that joined with them, Texas A&M, has been 0 times. And even a original member of the SEC, Ole Miss, has never been to the SEC title game, and yet Missouri went back-to-back. So if Missouri can go to the SEC title game back-to-back years, I definitely think Texas and Oklahoma could be in the SEC title game within the first 3 years. Just my opinion. Y'all want to look at Alabama's schedule real quick? I know you got some Oklahoma fans in here that might not want to see this, but I'm going to bring this up for y'all real quick and run through it real fast. All right. There it is. There's the other Crimson Nation. The SEC now has both blue blood Crimson Nations in the house. So, running down this schedule here for the Alabama Crimson Tide. They play Western Kentucky in the opener. A rematch with South Florida, who played us tough, by the way, last year. Everybody laughed at us when that happened, but South Florida the year before had been 2-10, so that's why everybody was laughing at us. But they actually ended up going to a bowl game last year after they give Alabama a scare in Tampa. But I think that they'll come down to earth this year, and they come to Tuscaloosa, so that'll be a win for Alabama. We go on the road to Wisconsin. A lot of people are already chalking that up as a win, but I'm not so sure. We've never beat Wisconsin in Wisconsin. We've only played them there once, just like one played Oklahoma and Norman once. It's back in the 1950s, I think, early 1950s, late 40s, somewhere between 1948 and 52, I think. And they beat us. They didn't give us a return game, but they beat us. We did play them in Dallas in a non-conference game in a kickoff classic and basically handled them. So I think we're tied 1-1 with Wisconsin. It's on the road at Madison. It's not in the bare month of November where it'd be really cold. where they probably have more of a home field advantage according to them anyway. I don't think that cold weather shit matters, to be honest with you. They can have Frosty the Snowman out there throwing 15 footballs, and no matter how cold it is, Alabama's a better team. Alabama will go up there and whoop their ass. That's the way it is. We could play them in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and still beat them and Frosty the Snowman. But I think we'll win the Wisconsin game. Then the Georgia game, that's going to be a big one. Georgia does have to come to Tuscaloosa. The schedule makers didn't do Georgia any favors, by the way. They play both Alabama and Texas on the road. That's a hard one. I think we could pull it out just because it's in Tuscaloosa and we get a week off before Georgia. That's my Alabama bias probably bleeding through a little bit. But I think we can beat Georgia. They'll play a tough game against Clemson before that, so maybe they'll be a little banged up for us. Then we played Vanderbilt in Nashville, just like Texas does. Texas's first SEC road game, by the way, is in Nashville. Sounds like someone's being catered to. Then we play South Carolina and Tuscaloosa. That should be a win. Then we go on the road to Knoxville. That's going to be a boogaboo. I can see us losing that game. Missouri, or as Big Cajones Kelly aptly called a mid-poo, comes to Tuscaloosa. Hopefully they shit the bed and we win that game. Play LSU in Baton Rouge. That'll be a tough one too. We could lose that game. Play Oklahoma on the road. We don't get a week off, but we do play Mercer. Tough game in Oklahoma. Then we play Auburn in Tuscaloosa. By the way, people will say, well, the Alabama-Auburn game in Iron Bowl is always close. Not in Tuscaloosa, it's not. Here lately, we've been blowing them out in Tuscaloosa, so I expect us to fully win that game. But from looking at that schedule, what do y'all think about Alabama's chances this year? What do y'all think? Give me a prediction, Alabama. Alabama could actually end up 9-3, in my opinion. You could see a lot of SEC teams end up 9-3 taking shots at each other. That's the bad thing about continuing to add football powerhouses and football names is that somebody has to lose. That's why I'm a big proponent. If the SEC does expand again, I don't think we should go after more football schools. That's why I don't want Florida State and Clemson. I think we should go after North Carolina, maybe go into Virginia, get Virginia Tech, and maybe Kansas. Because Kansas is geographically conjoined to Oklahoma and Missouri, so we could still be geographically conjoined. Kansas's basketball program is a blue blood program, as is North Carolina. I would add those two, Kansas and North Carolina, for basketball. If you keep adding football powers, you're just going to beat up on each other. And like Big Cajones Kelly has pointed out many times, that's why the SEC should not have to play 9 conference games. We should only have to play 8 conference games because our conference is so much better. Like, well, look, Mississippi State went 5-7. Okay. But if you put Mississippi State in the ACC or even the Big 12, I think, maybe even the Big 10, I think Mississippi State will at least flip that record. They're going to be from being a 5-7 team to a bowl team, maybe even 8-4. I definitely think Mississippi State will be one of the top 4 teams in any other conference. But they're not. They're in the SEC. And that's why the SEC should not have to play but 8 conference games. Because the Big 12 and the ACC have built-in cupcakes within their conference. So does the Big 10. I know we got Vanderbilt, but the Big 10 and the ACC and the Big 12, they all have built-in cupcakes probably to the tune of 2 or 3 teams a year. I mean, you got Indiana and Purdue, and Northwestern, who's off and again and on again, Illinois, Maryland. Rutgers is good right now. As long as they got Greg Schiano, they're decent. But, yeah. The SEC, they try to say the SEC's top-heavy. It's not. The SEC has had 6 different teams win the national championship since the advent of the BCS in 1998. No other conference even comes close. The Big 10 and the ACC have 2 teams that have won the national championship since the advent of the BCS in 1998. 6 in the SEC. And now, with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas, it's 8. The SEC has 8 former national champions since the advent of the BCS, 8 since 1998. So you tell me we're top heavy. Like I said, if y'all want to get your comment, push the top. If you want to get me to read one of your comments out, because we've got a lot of comments coming in here right now. I can't see them all. There's a little money dollar sign at the bottom. Click on that. Write your comment out. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. Help keep the lights on around here. Keep us support the program a little bit. But you can write your comment out, then hit send. Click, write, send. It'll highlight your comment and push it to the top. Little money dollar sign at the bottom. We also have the Outlaw Posse membership. You'll see people in here like Dennis and Big Cojones, Kelly, Fred Bagley, among others. In here, they have their badge or deputized. They're in the Outlaw Posse. It's $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. It's just a half bottle of water with Bidenomics. You'll get a random Four Horsemen shout out on the actual podcast, and probably even in here now, because I did the Four Horsemen shout outs earlier. I'll go ahead and give them again. The Four Horsemen shout outs for the show were Tim Gillespie, Copenhagen, Billy Burks, Texas Torpedo 01. And the big donor of the week was Appalachia African Twin. $19.89 is in the house. He's our resident Michigan Wolverine, and they are still your defending national champions, those Michigan Wolverines. By the way, 1989M, did you watch SummerSlam last night? Anybody watch SummerSlam? We got any wrestling fans out there? Spoiler alert. Got a new shirt we're going to have to buy, 1989M. Did you see that big shirt that the original tribal chief was wearing? That's right. Roman Reigns come back and knocked Solo Sikoa the hell out. Got a nice shirt that says OTC on it, almost like the OCF. And that stands for the original tribal chief. I'm going to have to get me one of those shirts. But, yes, Michigan is still y'all's current defending national champions, those Michigan Wolverines. Bagman says, Alabama's losing to either Oklahoma at Norman or Auburn. That's a rough back-to-back. Mad respect to Coach DeBoer. If he wins both, they'll be my favorite for the Natty if that happens. Well, like I said, Bagman, the history for Auburn in Tuscaloosa here recently is not very good. I think the last 3 or 4 times they've been here, we've hung a lot of points on them. A lot. So I'm not too much worried about Auburn as long as we don't have to play them down in Auburn. Y'all going to find that out real soon. That's y'all's first SEC road game. If Alabama's to lose, it's going to probably be either Georgia, LSU, or Oklahoma, in my opinion. Maybe even Ole Miss. We could any one of us could go 8-4 this year, 9-3, and still be a great team. But you won't be able to see it in the win-loss record because it's such a tough-ass conference. Like I said, it's too many football powers. We've got to start adding basketball schools. If you don't, it's going to be beating up on each other, and we're never going to go to that 9th conference game. Y'all can all kiss our ass. KMCA to all the other conferences, because we're not playing that 9th conference game. Not with the kind of schedule we have to play. And then we play a tough non-conference game like Alabama does against Wisconsin in Madison. And then South Florida's no slouch. They went to a bowl game last year. So, yeah. Senator in Texas. Hasn't Swanky said – Swanky. I don't think his last name is Swanky. Said any new members will have to be additive since football drives the revenue. How is Kansas additive? Well, I just told you why. In my opinion, it's my opinion. It's additive as far as the second biggest money-making sport. Kansas is a blue blood in basketball. North Carolina is a blue blood in basketball. You don't want to beat up on each other, Senator in Texas. That's just my opinion. And I could be wrong, and I may be wrong. They may go out and add Florida State and Clemson. But if they do, I don't want to hear people coming here and whining and bitching about losing 3 games a year, because it's going to probably happen. Alabama could beat Oklahoma and then turn around and lose to Auburn. And then Auburn could beat Oklahoma, who beat Alabama, and turn around and lose to LSU, and LSU beat someone else that beat Auburn, although Auburn beat them. See what I'm talking about? That's why I say, man, we don't want to keep adding football schools on it. We need to get going out for the second biggest money-making sport in college sports, that being college basketball, men's college basketball. And we need to add some basketball blue bloods. Kentucky would probably really like that, or they may not. Because Alabama made the Final Four this year in basketball, by the way. So, yeah, Kansas and North Carolina would be great basketball ads. 1989 says, Outlaw, last night I acknowledged him. That's right. Acknowledge me. I think that show will be, SmackDown, before we see the repercussions from that. Because I don't think Roman Reigns is on Monday Night Raw. I hate them having separate shows that have separate belts. I think they need to do away with one of those wrestling belts, one of those titles. And that way it makes the Intercontinental belt and the United States Championship mean something more than being just a Bush League title, in my opinion. They've got two world champions is too many. I think it should just be one world champion, have Intercontinental belt, United States belt, and I think they should probably end up adding an Intercontinental belt and a United States belt for the women's division as well. Fred Bagley says, God, this sucks. It's like I'm on AOL. I'm on dial-up. I hate this shit. I remember those days. AOL. That's some great chat rooms, though. AOL did. And Yahoo Messenger used to have some great chat rooms. They shut them down. There was some crazy shit going on there. Fred Bagley follows that up with, if OU and Bama make the title game, this podcast will take off. Crimson Nation's rule. Yeah, baby. Well, I'm talking about. All right. 9-3 or 10-2. Thunder OU Sooner says that sounds like the Big 12. What about the Big 12? I'm just saying, if you're talking about the basketball remark, you got too many football powers, in my opinion, in this conference. Florida State and Clemson just going to make it even more crowded. I think we need to concentrate on basketball now. We got the market on football. We got it. Like I said, we got 8 former national champions in the SEC. 8. So, yeah, it ain't top-heavy. All right, 1989M, I will check my email box out, buddy. Hopefully 1989M is going to join the Outlaw Posse now. We've got to try to find a way to put the badge on you. Because if you don't join it through here, they won't put that badge up there. So what I might have to do, 1989M, since you don't want to use the join button, which will be easier as far as getting your badge. But if you don't want to go through them and you want to get that badge, what I can do is I can probably gift them to you. I can gift you Outlaw Posse memberships if you send me the money via email. I think I'm lagging a little, so I'm just a little behind. My comments are taking a bit to go through. No. It's not that, man. It's just so many comments have been coming in here. Like I said, if y'all want to get your comment read out above everybody else's, just hit that little money dollar sign at the bottom. Click on that. Write your comment out. It'll highlight and push it to the top, and I'll get to it. Killer Breeze finally decided to show up. We ain't seen Killer Breeze in here in a while. He's been out there in the backwoods of Houston getting his internet blowed to hell and back by all these hurricanes. But, yeah, we're just in here talking about, we started off with Notre Dame maybe requiring Stanford be in a combo deal for them to join the Big Ten. Found out that is not the case. Notre Dame said they will join the Big Ten without Stanford if they decide to go that way. And then we run down Oklahoma's schedule and the fact that Paul Feinbaum has predicted that Oklahoma is actually going to have a decent year. He says they could go 9-3, maybe even 10-2, Killer Breeze. So he's actually talking very positively about Oklahoma. And then we went over Oklahoma's schedule, and then we just went over Alabama's schedule. So, yeah. Mary Caroline's in the house. Glad to see you, too. We're probably you're a little late coming in here, and we're close to the end of this thing. All right. Y'all got any ideas for future shows? Any topics you want me to touch on, just let me know. Either that or hit me up on Twitter, AKAX at OCF Productions, NDMs. And I can also be reached on my email, like old boy did. You can reach me on my email under jesseclark425 at gmail.com. That's jesseclark425 at gmail.com. It's spelled Jesse without the I. Don't put an I in my name. That's the girl's way of spelling it. Now everybody's gonna start putting I's in. Donnie's in the house. Donnie says, I just think Notre Dame likes jerking the Big Ten's chain. They probably are, because there's a history there. Notre Dame actually wanted to join the Big Ten back in the 1920s, and they wouldn't let them in. Rumor has it Michigan didn't want them in. Then again, the 1960s, Notre Dame petitioned. Once again, they got denied. And then the Big Ten had a about face when they added Penn State in the 90s. They wanted to add Notre Dame, and Notre Dame wouldn't come. Because by that time, Notre Dame, the independents had actually turned into a benefit for them because they had their own network with NBC. We used to call it the Notre Dame Broadcasting Company. And they didn't really have a reason to join the Big Ten. And then the Big Ten approached them again, I think, around 2010, 2015. And Notre Dame turned them down again. So it's been 2 for 2, tick for tack. So now that they're both even and turning each other down, maybe Notre Dame will finally join the Big Ten. Rumor has it they wanted Stanford as a package deal, but that rumor has sort of been squashed by the earlier article that I read out. 1989M is in here, Killer Breeze. I just talked to him. He's actually going to send me an email. So I'm going to try to hook him up with an Outlaw Posse badge if I can do it by gifting it to him because he don't want to use the join button on YouTube. He's not hooked up to YouTube like that or something. Big Cojones Kelly says, you saw that UK has to vacate wins in the 2022 season for level 2 violations. No, I did not see that. You talking about basketball or football? Big Cojones Kelly. Thunder OU Center in the house. Once again, the man with the best attendance record going today probably has about a 95% attendance record, maybe even higher. Thunder OU Center says, when Notre Dame joins the Big Ten, what happens with the NBC contract? Well, I ain't got it in front of me, but they laid it out to where NBC and Fox had already talked about it and come to an agreement on certain things. I think the NBC would still get the Notre Dame home games and that Fox would get like the road games or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but don't quote me on that. But they did come to some kind of an agreement. Killer Breeze, hey everybody, I'm listening to the show at work. Don't let me get you in trouble, brother. I got Outlaw's voice ringing out in the building. Shout out to the posse. 1980M is about to be saddled up, mounted up, ready to go. He's going to be in the Outlaw posse. And since my voice is ringing out through the building, is there anything you want me to shout out to maybe make everybody happy or maybe to piss somebody off that's your rival at work, somebody that you like to aggravate? Just tell me what you want me to shout out in 1989M, and I'll shout it out. So Kentucky football has had to vacate some wins. I thought they stopped doing that. I thought they stopped vacating wins. Did they not stop that? Who do you want me to tell to acknowledge me? Michigan? Where you at, man? I have to tell. Who you want me to tell to acknowledge me? Who you want me to tell? They didn't acknowledge Outlaw Posse for real, boy. Already got 50 people up in here. So we're doing pretty good today in the attendance. But I'm running out of things to talk about. So unless y'all got some other questions y'all want to answer me, I might decide to shut this old party down for a little while. shout out, Ohio State sucks. I mean, Ohio stank. Get it right, Thunder OU Center. I'm trying to get these nicknames to catch on for everybody. We already got everybody calling the USC Skittle Shitters and the Georgia Hedge Pissers and the Auburn Barn Monkeys and Ohio Stank, Mid Poo, in the middle of nowhere. Nobody gives a shit about Missouri. We got nicknames for everybody. Texas Long Turds. Can't forget that one. Y'all actually helped me come up with that one. We done a poll on that. So, yeah. That's right. Acknowledge me. 1989 man was right. You got to acknowledge college football because it's coming. I'm ready to acknowledge some college football. If y'all ain't got any more questions for me, I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to take up no more of y'all's time. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel, man. If you subscribe and you share it out to everybody, that really helps the algorithm. It helps my channel get pushed to everybody else, makes this party larger. And I get this thing crunked before the 2024 football season starts. Maybe we can get to 5,000. That's a big milestone. And from what I understand, YouTube will really push your channel at that point. Texas uteruses. Oh, okay. I call them long turds, sooner in Texas. Well, then I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.